good.
Yep. What happened?
I'm gonna have to sit down for this one.
Alright.
So let me just get right into it, man. It was a crazy story. A couple months ago. What the? And it was crazy. I don't know.
One eternity later.
Back, baby. Welcome to Cooking with Bad Boys, episode 3. Welcome to Cooking with Bad Boys, episode 3. As you know from the footage earlier, we've been out of commission because I've been in a boot for about a month and a half. During that time, I've really been missing travel. And as a result, John and I got together with some homies last weekend and we were just talking about where would be our first place to travel as soon as quarantine is done. And what we were doing is just recounting some of our trips, specifically in Europe. And one of those that stuck to mind was London. John, roll some clips and I'm going to talk through this process. And as we were in London, we went everywhere. I mean, we did every single touristy thing that you could possibly do. We hung out primarily in East London, specifically in Shoreditch, and we kept going to the same place called Dishoom. Dishoom is a pretty famous Indian restaurant, and the one thing about it was it had the absolute best breakfast sandwich I've ever eaten. So much that John and I went back twice, and on the second occasion, we got 2 sandwiches each. So that's what we're gonna be making today. I hope you're ready. So today we're going to be cooking Dishoom's famous NAAN breakfast sandwich. Unfortunately, we don't have Dishoom's official cookbook because we were strapped for time and we were craving the sandwich so bad. But luckily, in the link below, you'll find the recipe we're going to be using for today's session. And it's from Grilled Cheese Social, tongue twister. Don't say it too fast. It really consists of 2 main steps. The number 1 step is to create the homemade tomato jam. It is very sweet, has a little bit of spice, accents the saltiness and savoriness of both the egg and the bacon. And then the second step really is to heat up your naan if you haven't made homemade naan, and then putting together the sandwich. Let's get into it. So as I mentioned, we're gonna need about 2 cups of tomatoes halved, 2 cloves of garlic, last but not least, 3 tablespoons of ginger. So we've got everything cut. The next step's gonna be pretty easy. We're gonna start dropping all of our cut up ingredients into your blender. And this is inclusive of the rice wine vinegar, the garlic, the ginger, the brown sugar, and we're just gonna cut it down. So we blended it down. John, let's get in here. Take a look at that color. There's still a lot of liquid. And as I alluded to earlier, we're gonna drop this into a stainless steel pot. Put it on medium heat for about 20 to 30 minutes until it becomes a nice thick paste. And as this is getting going, we're gonna start to preheat the oven to bake the bacon at 400 degrees.
Yeah.
And you're gonna wanna put it in there for 20 minutes so you get a nice crisp and flip halfway through. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you stir occasionally as this is starting to heat up. You can start to see it's bubbling down. You don't want the heat too high as you do want it to cook it down. Again, the goal of this is to have a jam-like texture by the end of it, and hopefully that actually comes to fruition. But as we got this going, we do have the bacon, and basically from a bacon perspective, I personally like to bake it. It's a lot easier, less cleanup, and the best part about it is you do get a nice crispy texture without having to use too much oil. So as I mentioned, you're gonna wanna put it in to the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes and flipping halfway through. Yo, John, come check out how thick this is.
Look at the flick of that wrist. Look at the flick of that wrist. Look at the flick of that wrist.
This bacon's almost done. Take a look at the thickness of the tomato jam. It's looking great. The last few pieces that we're gonna get going are cooking the eggs over medium and then just heating up the store-bought naan that we're using from Whole Foods. A fun little trick for cooking eggs that I learned because I always break the yolk is after you actually crack the eggs into the pot, this actually use a lid cover so you don't break any more yolks. But enough about this. You know how to cook eggs. John, let's get to the cool shit. Thanks for watching Cooking with Bad Boys episode 3. I hope you enjoyed Grilled Cheese Social's version of the Dishoom breakfast sandwich. Link in the bio again. Shout out to them for making an amazing recipe for this. It's absolutely delicious. Looks like pea.
NANI?
Our special guest for tonight has thoroughly enjoyed it. We also have his fiance Jen in the house. That wraps up our episode. Episode 4 is actually going to start our main focus for Cooking with Bad Boys. When we incorporate guests, they bring a recipe and teach me how to cook it, and we're going to learn a little bit about them. So without further ado, thanks again. John's going to also enjoy his meal, and talk to you later. Oh, last thing. Back, baby.